and Chevy are here already. Thank you for your patience. I don't know if you saw over on Instagram. I just made a quick note that I was running a little behind, so let's start a little bit later. Oh, hi Sherry. Thanks for coming. Hope you guys are having a happy President's Day. I thought it was gonna be pretty quiet today because people might be away doing things. I've had a super long weekend, but today is the first day that I don't have to actually leave the house. And I am a homebody, so for me, that's really nice because I just kind of like, I know I need a day to just be in my pajamas all day. So I'm in my secret pajamas. See? My pajama bottoms on, but, and it's just like a nice day to relax. So I hope you guys are having a relaxing day. But anyway, welcome to day 11. We are just past the halfway point now today. So let's jump in and see what we've got. Halfway through, I can't believe it feels like it's flying by. What do you guys think? Is it flying by? Are you feeling like it's going too quickly? Okay, I've got, hi Aubrey. I have feather, stitch, and variations. I think Hannah is gonna be, yeah, it's flying by, right, Sherry? I think so. Or is it, or are you talking about that you need a day to be in your pajamas like me? Is that what you're saying same about? Anyway, I think Hannah's gonna be happy I got this one because when we were talking about the stitches, I was asking her, which are the ones that you really would rather not pull? And she named this as one of them. So, all right, Hannah, you got your wish. I have the feather stitch and its variations. Yeah, it's totally flying by. February is like flying. And I'm feeling like there's just a lot going on this week. Tomorrow is the Lunar New Year, Chinese New Year, Lunar New Year, whatever you want to call it. But for me, I'm Chinese, so it's Chinese New Year to me, and there's just a lot of things to have to do as an adult for Chinese New Year. I think this is true of all the holidays, though, whatever culture it may be. Once you become a mom and whatever, you've got to like carry on the traditions and all of those things fall on your shoulders, and you have to do all the stuff like all the cooking and all the cleaning stuff and all the prep and yeah. But anyway, enough of that. Let us see feather stitch and variations for us. It's in number 10, and then let me see where we have our examples. So I'm gonna flip it around. Yes, it's the year of the horse. That's right. Do any of you guys celebrate this holiday? Number 16 for Aubrey. Awesome. So you're in the border. That's good. Let's see. Number 3 for Sherry. So the cute little owl for Sherry. Very good. What else we got? Let's see. So for us, number 10 is gonna be, oh no, that's 8, 9, oh, number 10 is this one, this cute little birdie. This was actually one of the earliest birds that I drew for the inspiration on the board, so it's definitely gonna be one of my favorites. And where did we put it in our examples? Hannah did it here in number 3, actually. She did it just as a border, like a background. She has a single feather. I think it's also referred to as the slanted buttonhole stitch. And that's one thing I want to bring up, actually. We had another player leave a comment about how the detached chain stitch, she knows it as the lazy daisy stitch. A lot of these stitches go by a lot of different names. So it may be difficult sometimes when you're looking it up, or if you know it as another name, and so it can get a little confusing. So just be aware of that, is that it may pop up as something else. And quite honestly, it doesn't matter what you call it. That's how we feel anyway about these stitches. You can make up a name if you want. We don't care. I mean, we're not quizzing you on like matching the names to the stitch. So, we just want you to kind of feel comfortable and confident in terms of like, how do you make certain stitches, like that stitches are made by either sort of poking and pulling and creating these little dashes and arranging them in a certain way, or that they're done by tacking down stitches in a certain way to create something. And so once you kind of figure that out, you can just, the sky's the limit, right? You can do so much with it. So don't worry too much about what they're called. Just try them out, see how you feel, and then go from there, get creative and make up your own and call it whatever you want. We've got Bouillon Stitch coming up at some point this month. And you know, when we first did that for bingo, we did it when we did blooming bingo, the flower one, and we called it the maggot stitch because it reminded us of little worms. But you know, like that doesn't sound so pretty, so maybe make up a prettier name. But anyway, Chevy's got it in box 8, so she's got it in the penguin. All right, let me see where, oh, and then what, before I go on, I'm gonna also show this one. This is a regular feather stitch where it sort of goes back and forth. So this is a more traditional one, but there are so many variations on it. So again, once you figure out the technique and the construction of it, then, or like I tend to call it like the mechanics of the stitch, then you can do whatever you want with it. Let me see where I put it in mine. This one, mine was in number 7. Leon's got it in number 11. So this one, the owl, cool. Okay, very fun. So they're like all over the board today. That's cool. Here's where I did my example. So again, I have a single feather as well. I'm doing it more as like again, it's like the slanted buttonhole, but I did it where the length of this side of the stitch varies, long, short. Well, that didn't cut through the beak, so that didn't get long. Then there's another long, short, long, short. And then here I did the reverse on this side. And then here I kind of turned it upside down and I combined 2 sort of mirror image and it sort of looked like hearts. So that's quite appropriate for Valentine's Day that just passed. But that's another way you can do it. And then I just used it more as a fill stitch within the birdie itself to fill in all of the chest feathers. And I did them sort of haphazardly, again, going by the mechanics of the stitch and just going in whatever angle I needed and whichever way I needed to fill in, I did that. And then within the wing, I did the same thing. And then what I did was I used it to outline the shape of the wing, where I used sort of, I guess, like a single feather, short and kind of compact, and doing it so that it looked sort of fluffy along the edges. So that's one way you could use it more as an outline type of a stitch. So you could do it, like I said, as an all over fill or as borders, bands, and then like to outline. So that's the basics of the stitch. Let's talk about like what you can do with it in terms of design. So now let's talk about how you make it, right? So let's go over to our, and also I want to just double check my notes to make sure there wasn't anything that we talked about that, or that I missed. Okay, why isn't my thing working? Here, okay. So good for wings, tails, chest feathers. You can play with the spacing for a tighter fill or look more sparse. Again, like variations of single, regular, and how you can kind of switch back and forth. Let me see if there was anything else in my notes about it. I think that was about the gist. So I think I covered most of the stuff with the notes. Oh, what did I do with my little paper? Oh, here it is. I gotta remember to open it and put it somewhere within the camera so you guys can see if you hop in late. All right, let's see. So let me go back to, we get it in 16 for Aubrey, 16, 3, 10, and 11, I think we said. And 8. Okay, so let's think. Let's go back. 16. 16 is the birdies. Yeah, so you can use it as a fill in the background, like create a little border around here. You could use it sort of to create an all over in the nest outline for like the birdies themselves. This one, we had this one as well. Same thing, like kind of fill in the chest. It's just such a versatile stitch. You can really literally do anything with it. Like I said, use it as a fill, use it as a border, use it as an outline, and it all just comes together depending on the length and the spacing of the stitch. Okay, I think we said we had, let me just double check. I keep forgetting. Three is this one. May be pretty in the wings, especially on that one. Number 8, penguin. Again, it's similar to this in terms of the space you're working with. And yeah, did I get everybody? I think I got everybody. All right, so let's draw on the friction marker. Let's draw on this board. Oh, yay, Sherry got bingo. Wait, was this your first bingo? You finally got it, right? Yeah, this last week we got a bunch of people, like one right after another, calling bingo. And Lucky Karen got it very first. So yeah, congrats. So go for border bingo now though. Okay, so I'm glad everybody they're starting to get bingo, but right now we are looking to see who's the first one to get it. All of the 12 around the outside are what we're looking for next. Okay. Here's my thing. Okay. So single feather. You would come up at this point, and it's kind of like a well, it's similar mechanics to the crown stitch, right? Because it's sort of based off of a fly stitch, the way it's created. Comes up here, and then you're gonna go back in over here. So it's 1, 2, 3, and then it tacks it down, and you sort of repeat. So you'll come up here, drag it over this way, holding the loop, and then you tack it over here. So let's show you what that actually looks like. Let me get some thread on a needle. And I'm gonna demonstrate with the black because it's easy to see. Yeah, it's a super busy week. And we have Stitch and Chat on this Wednesday. So if anybody wants to hop on, we're doing Stitch and Chat this year. We've moved all of our, what used to be Zoom meetings over to Google Meet. You guys can join us for that. That's going to be Wednesday, 8 p.m. and 8 to 9. So you can hop on anytime between 8 and 9. And you can work on your bingo, or you could do whatever you want to do, or if you have any questions you want to ask us. It doesn't even have to be bingo related. It's open to anyone. So feel free to join us that night. Okay, so back to the demo. You're going to come up at 1, right? So from the back, I pull it all the way, not up against the back. And then I'm just going to hold that working thread down. And then I'm going to go back in at 2. And then I'm going to rock the needle back and come out at 3. Working thread's going to go under the point of the needle. And feel free to turn your hoop to do it however it feels comfortable to you. You don't have to like do finger gymnastics and contort your wrists or whatever. Turn the hoop so it's comfortable, okay? And so I'm coming out at 3, that working thread's underneath, push the needle all the way through. And so again, you'll see how it looks very similar to a crown stitch, or if you're familiar, a fly stitch, right? All right, so then what you're gonna do is you're gonna repeat it. So I'm gonna rotate back. And you can work on the grid is helpful, but it doesn't have to be. Like I said, you can kind of go free form with it if you'd like. So then I'm going to go back in. This is the single feather. So I go straight across, and then you'll see if you want the angles to be the same, you can kind of just make it parallel to where 2 and 3 go. Right? You can kind of see the angle of it, right? And then rock it back. And usually the single feather has one straight side, and then the other one you can kind of vary. Okay, and then push that through. And like I said, I'm going to turn because I feel more comfortable pulling away from me. Okay, and then I turn back. And you continue the chain down, right? I don't know if I should say a chain. It's not a chain, but it's like a continuation of the stitch. So the variation on this is if you go sort of back and forth. So you can then turn it this way. And now, again, I go across from where your working thread's coming out at sort of that V, that valley. Okay. I know, Hannah, I said that. Hi. Hannah just hopped on and she's so glad that I got this one. And I had mentioned that. I'm like, yep, Hannah's going to be happy that she didn't pull this one and I got it today because this isn't one of her favorites to teach, I guess, right? Like you don't mind doing it, do you, Hannah? All right, so then I'm going to, again, come up right below, or in this case above, because I've rotated my hoop, right in line with where that working thread is coming out. And what I just did, if you noticed, was the poke and pull version of it. So let me show you again. I came up here, poked the needle back down at this point, and now I'm just going to hold that loop open, and then from the back, come up to create basically your tacking stitch. Okay, so just stay on the inside of the loop and then pull up and then tighten. Okay, so then again, if you do a traditional feather stitch, it goes back and forth. So now I'll go across this way, and again, you can change the length. So I'm starting to run out of thread, so I'm going to change the length. And if you want to do the sewing method, you just rock back. If you want to keep these sort of parallel, the angles of them the same, you can use the one above. You can see the needle will give you a preview of the angle of your stitch, and you can see if it is parallel to the one above it. Okay, and push and pull. Okay, so you can see how, so let's say depending on the space that you're trying to fill, just you know, change the lengths of them or change the angles of them. If you were working in a curve, maybe these don't stay parallel, but instead they sort of fan outwards. Okay, so it just depends what you're doing. And at the very bottom, to end it, you would just sort of tack it down. And honestly, I don't think it matters. You can tack it with a short tacking stitch, a long tacking stitch, whatever you want, right? Who cares? No, if somebody is telling you, oh, you didn't do it right because it's supposed to be this way, we're very much like poo-poo about the supposed to. You do what you want to do and what works. Is that okay to say that? But anyway, so let me tack this off in the back, and then let's get over to our actual bingo board and see what we can do on our cute little birdies. You know, I'm starting to feel a little bit design pressure right now because I feel like we've gotten such wonderfully positive feedback about this year's board. It is definitely one of my favorite boards we've done in all our 5 years of bingo. But it does get a little, like the stakes get high when people are enjoying a certain look of something, and then if you want to do something different, you want people to be just as happy the next year. So I'm starting to feel that like pressure. But I'm not going to let it get to me. I'm going to let it challenge me, and I'm going to hopefully come up with something that you guys will love next year too. And hopefully you all come back for next year. Okay, so as I said, for us, we're in number 10. So that's this little birdie. Get it in the hoop. And I'm thinking how we want to fill this box, or how I want to demo it in this particular box today. Is there a certain one that you guys that are on live with me right now want to see? Like I said, you can do it as a border, as a fill, as a outline. Is there one in particular you want to see? That was something I worry about. Sometimes my stitches are done differently than the tutorial, but end up this. Yeah, oh, there is nothing to worry about at all, Chevy. I'm glad you said that. Yeah. If it looks like it, or if it even just looks close enough to it, you know, it's all good. It doesn't matter to us. And like I said, it's not like we're going to quiz you. And it's not like you have to say what the stitch is. Sometimes you just draw with the thread and you make it look however you want it to look. And it doesn't matter what you called the stitch, what stitch you used. You can just do whatever you want, you know? So yeah, please feel free to do whatever your heart desires. Aubrey's gonna do hers as the background. Might be fun to see it in a bird. Okay, so let me show you in the bird. I think what I'm gonna do is, let's make this bird kind of fluffy along the top and smooth under the belly. Let's try that. Oh, I got a little short piece in here. Well, I don't want to waste it, so I'm gonna use it up, and if I need to, I will get another strand of it. So let's do this. Again, with the variegated, if you have a preference which side you want to start, which color, then put the knot on that particular side. So I'm going to start my stitches with the sort of green-blue side, and so I will thread on the pink side. I'm going to leave this variegated strand as is and not mix it all up. Thanks, Hannah. Have fun wherever you're going. Right. So, and I want the slants of the stitch to go in this direction, following towards the back. And so what I'll do is start in this direction. I'm gonna come, I guess from this side and work my way down along its top. So a little bit like a mohawk, I guess. So I'll push the needle along the back, and I'm gonna keep these kind of short. I'm not, you can make them longer if you want, depending on how long you want these little fuzzy ends to look, but I'm gonna keep it on the slightly shorter side. So one side of my feather stitch is gonna follow this curved line, the black line of the bird, and the other side is gonna act as like the fluff, like the mohawk part, okay? So I'm gonna start on the left side here, but it really doesn't matter which side you start, okay? And then I'm gonna go back in at that point of the tail, and I'm gonna rock my needle back. This is a really good stitch for the sewing method. You can do it in the poke and pull, but once you find your rhythm, the sewing method works really great. So I'm going in at the point of the tail, rock my needle back to come out where I want like that V to sit, right? So it's gonna come down here, following the black line, push the needle down on the eye side so I can slide that working thread underneath, and then push. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, yeah. Is it difficult to make this stitch very small? Arlene asked. I don't think it's difficult, but like anything else, I think it just takes practice. If you do find it challenging, just keep trying. You could maybe try the poke and pull method if you're doing it particularly small. So I'll go back in at this point and I'll show you again the poke and pull. If you want it small, it's just a matter of the spacing, right? How far apart do you go in and out with the needle? So if I want to keep it on the smaller side, then I'll just keep these distances shorter, okay? So pull up inside that loop, pull up and down, okay? So then I'm going to rotate a little bit. I'm going to go back in, hold on to, it's a great question, though. Thank you for asking it, Arlene. Okay, in again. So it's just like, it's kind of, I guess it's, yeah, it's like a fly stitch. They're just connected. They're all like, you build off of that anchoring stitch. Okay, so again, you can see how this side is kind of curving along that black line, and then the other ones are going above the line on the outside. If you notice though, if I leave it like this, it's like twisted. So I don't know if you've been catching it, but I kind of turn that back around and come in. On that black line. So if you're trying to trace it, using it as more of an outline stitch, you're gonna just, you know, that's the point where you come up to tack it down, okay? So in essence, this is the right leg of the V, and this is the left leg of the V. And then I'm gonna go back in to create the left side, and I'm gonna just kind of smooth that little out, and then I'm gonna come in to do my tacking stitch. And what you want to do, if you want the left leg of that V to have that angle like a slant, you just want to make sure the tacking stitch stays ahead, like lower than where that working thread's coming out. Does that make sense? Because what happens is if you don't, you're kind of making more of a buttonhole or a blanket stitch look, because then they're not angled. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Let me know if that doesn't make sense. I'll try to explain it again. Okay, so let's keep going. So you see, like, get another needle so I can use it to point. So it's this angle right here, right? So these two, if you want that tacking stitch to come below that, somewhere down in here, so that this angle of the V stays more slanted, because if you tack it more in line with that, it becomes more perpendicular instead of at an angle. Okay. All right, let me see, where's my needle at? I feel like I'm definitely starting to play thread chicken. I can feel it. I'm running out of thread back there. Okay, and it's the same idea. Remember when we were talking about the, which stitch was it? Oh, like our wave chain stitch, where you want to kind of pull up and down along the top of the fabric and not just pull straight up, because you want everything sort of lay flat on top of the fabric, okay? Yeah, I hope everybody's been having a nice weekend. We're having an extended weekend because over here we have President's Day weekend. And for some schools, it's break. All right, so I've come all the way around. So that's the top of the birdie. And then I'm just going to tack this down right here. Okay. And if you notice, you could even, I mean, this isn't really a feather, but you could, it's the same mechanics, right? It's basically a fly stitch. You could use that to fill in the beaks. If you guys have beaks visible in your, or this shape of a beak visible in your box. And then, let me think if there's other ones. Yeah, okay. So then I'm gonna, should I keep going? I'm getting a little close. Let me see if I can get a few more. So I'll go below the beak, and this time I'm gonna have this side of it smoother and have the little spiky parts up towards the belly. So then we'll go in the opposite direction where I poke in from this side. You can use it to sort of fill, I guess. Let's try that. And I'll rock the needle back. Working thread goes under the needle. Pull it. And so here, I'm not gonna worry too much about the angle of my of the thread on this side, they may just sort of start to radiate out. So what that means is on the tips of them, they may be closer together, and then at the bottom, they might be a little bit more spread apart. So let's just see how that looks. I think I'm gonna get one more, and then I'm probably gonna need to tie off. Let me just double check the chat that I'm not missing anything. Okay, good. All right, so I want to tie off here because I'm getting dangerously close to the end. So what I'll do is I'll just do a little tiny tacking stitch to hold that all down. Okay. And then I'll switch and I'll show you how you can kind of continue where you left off. Things are starting to warm up over here, so it's not quite as cold, which is nice. Spring is coming. There are signs of spring. Days are feeling a little bit longer and things are warming up a tiny bit. Okay, so let's get some more. I'm doing a full 6 strands right now, but you can certainly use less if you'd prefer. I wound this one funny. I can pull it from this side. This particular color we were having trouble finding more of, and so Hannah and I ended up splitting one for the demo. Okay, let's see. I'm going to put the knot on this side. All right, so I'll thread on this side. Okay, so if you needed to tie off your thread and you pick up where you left off, what you're going to do is come back up from the back side inside of the V, okay? And that sort of hides it. So that's why you're making, when you tack that to end it, you're making just a little baby one, so you don't really notice it so much. So pull all the way up, okay? So you're on the inside of the V, and you continue. So I'm going to hold that working thread down below, swing it around, whatever angle I want it to be. And this one, again, you can change the lengths of it if you want. Doesn't really matter. Okay, swing this underneath. Pull. If you notice that your threads are like a little not super smooth, you can kind of just, I like grab it with my nail and sort of pull on it to try to realign them. Okay, and then again, I'm going to continue. And so I'm just going to continue where it's, some of them are alternating long and short. Let's see, I'm going to kind of get it back right side up every now and then so I can see what that looks like at a preview. And yeah, speaking of preview, when you do this sort of sewing method, you push it back in like this. You can turn your thread around and line it up to the angle of the needle, and it will kind of show you what it looks like. Oh no, Aubrey stitched her board to her pants. She was getting in the groove and not really, she was just going with the flow and ended up stitching herself to it. And that totally happened to me while I was working on this sampler too, so I get it. Yes, so be careful, be mindful where you're holding your hoop, because yeah, that can happen, especially when you're doing the sewing method, I feel. It's happened to all of us. If you know, you know, right? I mean, it's okay. Luckily, we are, I hope, you are working in a where your needle's not trapped and you're able to just undo everything. Because if you were working on the, like where your needle was trapped inside your thread, you'd have to cut it, and that's not as helpful when you're trying to fix things like that. So hopefully it's an easy thing you can take out. Okay, so I'm starting to get like that. Okay, so here I'm gonna go in below the wing just so that it keeps the shape clean. I might go in later with the wing and do something else. Well, it's a super tiny wing, so maybe not. Okay, so keep rotating. So you can see what I mean by having one side, just depends which angle you do it. My son did the same last year. Yeah. It happens. It's all right. It's all good. That's the other really nice thing I think about embroidery is you can always take it out, right? Okay, so I got to the little end there. I'm going to tack this down. Yeah, we've all done it. No shame in stitching it to yourself. I feel like it's a rite of passage, right? If you're going to embroider, you gotta sew your work to yourself at some point, just like you gotta be in the poke club at some point. Everybody pokes themselves with their needle. Comes with the territory, right? Okay, so there is a sort of used as an outline and sort of like a fill in here. Let me see. Can I do it as the feet? I'm trying to think if I can. Not quite. All right, let's see. Let me tie this off first. My brain's gonna still keep turning and see what we can come up with. I'll show you sort of a more, another way you can use it. Maybe we'll do it in the background. You could also do eyelashes, I guess, with this. Go in the other direction. Maybe I'll do that. Let's do that. Let's put some eyelashes on this thing. That's the other thing. When you guys catch us on days when we have a little more time, we're not rushing to another appointment or whatever, it's like, then we get to really play and have fun and like just go with the flow and get creative. We can bounce ideas off of each other, or crazy ideas can pop into our heads, and then we'll just decide to show them and see where it all goes, right? So thank you for joining me. It's super fun when we have company on these things. All right, so let's say I want to do some eyelashes on this guy. And so if I want the eyelashes to point in that direction, right, then I would kind of go here and then have them go up like this. If you wanted it to point in the same, like have the same angle as the top of this bird here, then you would work in this direction and come like this. Okay. I think I'm gonna have them go in the opposite direction, headed towards this corner, going upwards towards that corner. So I hope that makes sense. Like if you want it to go in a certain direction, it does matter where you start. Okay. So I'm gonna turn it here, and I'll have, I think actually I'm gonna have one side of it, maybe I'll make them really long. Maybe this bird is like wearing mascara. I'm gonna have it go really long, and I'm gonna have it start so that one side of it is not touching the circle outline of the eye. I think I just have to do it and show you, right? And then I'm gonna make this one long and rock it back. This. Okay, so I'm kind of doing that. And then now from here, I'm going to have it follow the edge of that black circle of the eye. And this one, as far as the angle goes, I'm just looking for a pretty sort of like a radiating angle for the eyelashes. I'm not worrying about whether it's parallel to the one before at all. Yeah, so this pretty birdie is getting ready to go have a nice day out, and they've decided to put on some mascara. Or maybe they just have naturally lovely, luscious eyelashes. All right, that's a little crazy, but kind of fun. I'll go with it. And so here, you'll notice spacing wise, I have it pretty short, this leg of the V, because I'm trying to create this sort of fanning motion. But the mechanics, again, this is why it's helpful if you can understand the mechanics of the stitch. It's still being made the same way, but you're able to manipulate the shape, the outcome of your stitch, just based on where you put the needle in and out, right? Okay, so I'm going to start to sort of shorten that. And I think that's the other thing is because you are, you're like not following the general rules about where you come in and out or whatever angle, that's where sometimes the names of stitches can get confusing. Like remember when we were doing the wave chain and we said as we start to work it in a spiral, it starts to look more like a buttonhole wheel. And then we realized, well, the real difference was how we started it. It was that we started it with a detached chain, and that was the foundation of the beginning of the stitch. But if you were doing a buttonhole, you would start it in a different place. So the very beginning of it would look a little different. And then so the names start changing. And then when you start to look up these names to find tutorials to learn these stitches, then it can get kind of confusing. So it doesn't help, but I don't think it helps to note that necessarily, but just realize that you're not alone if you get confused trying to find a stitch or if you're trying to figure out the name of a stitch. Okay, so look, she's got crazy eyelashes. They're so long. This one may be a little too long, but it's right. We go with it. I guess the other thing you could do if you wanted to, let me think about this. I'll say, can we weave? It's all right, I'll leave it. Okay, so that's eyelashes. And then I'll show you one more thing. All right, so let's tack this down. And I'm going to switch to the blue and show you more of a like a double feather. Because like I said, there's a lot of different variations of this stitch. Let's switch to this blue. Get in there. Okay. So yeah, sometimes February it feels like it drags and drags and drags. Even though it's like the shortest month of the year. But this one is flying. Okay, so let's see. Let's do a little something on this side in here. I'm going to start at the top. And I'm I'm gonna go this way. I'm gonna kind of do it more as like a V shape, right? So if I'm following the grid, my tacking stitches are gonna come in the middle, in between the dots, okay? And then I think I'm gonna go halfway here. So I'll rock it back in the middle. Okay, and then I'm gonna go across. So here's the tacking stitch. I'm gonna go across and I'm gonna make another one. So I'm gonna go sort of halfway, pull up and down. And then I could, so you could create like a zigzag motion with this. And this is where the free form comes in. I'm not gonna worry about how many, I'm not gonna count. I'm just gonna go back and forth however many times I want. And let's see what we get, okay? And I'm gonna jump the other way. So I like to turn my hoop. And again, so here's where my thread's coming out, my working thread. I'm gonna go across in this direction, rock my needle back. And so you'll see the angle of the needle matches the angle here. Working thread's gonna go underneath. Yay, I'm glad it's going fast for you too. Arlene was so funny. She had messaged us about how she was watching the videos and she's watching them along with her husband, and it makes us so happy to hear that you're doing that and that we are providing some entertainment for you guys, because she likened us to watching General Hospital. was it General Hospital, or was it As the World Turns or whatever? Okay, so this one, let's see. I'm gonna run into my birdie and I don't wanna stitch over my birdie. So what I'll do is I'm gonna continue this angle and just sort of tack it in here. Then you can decide where else you wanna come from. So maybe I'm gonna start here now. So, like I said, this is kind of how you can use it as more of a random fill. Just go in whatever direction you want to go to fill in the space. But these are basically making like little V's, right? I want to go back in this direction. So this is why, for us, we don't tend to use hoop stands, because you see how much we rotate our hoops. And also because if you do like to use the sewing method, you know, you're going to need to rotate. You're going to need to get your hand under there to manipulate the thread and the fabric. Okay, so I'm at the end of my box. Let's see. And then you can kind of keep going, you know, keep going back and forth. Like, I'm gonna just go until I use up this thread, right? So maybe this time I'm gonna work in the other direction. And let's see what happens there. I don't think I've ever tried it like this before. So let's see what this looks like. Maybe this one I'm gonna fill in a little bit over here. But yeah, you can really get lost in the stitching, right? I'll tack this down. And yeah, you just find your rhythm and you keep going. Okay, so I'm gonna skip over the bird, and you could tie off if you want to. And you can also, if you're jumping a long ways, you can kind of go underneath some stitches to hold it down. And then here, I'll go in this direction, I think. But this is a pretty stitch for greenery as well. Sorry, I'm jumbled. Let's get that working thread back underneath. And what I love about this too is I can remember back when we first started the embroidery, learning embroidery and stuff, and feeling very sort of like, not quite sure how this works, and having to watch all the tutorials and figure it out. And then when something clicks, once you start to really understand the way the stitches are built, you can just kind of do whatever. And you just know if you hold it down, it's all okay. It all works out. You don't have the pressure of it necessarily having to be correct. As long as it looks the way you want it to look. Or sometimes it doesn't look the way you thought you wanted it to look, but you're still happy with it, and that's what's important. So I'm gonna just keep going. Anyone have any questions about this? I feel like I'm just blabbing, blah blah blah. Let's see. Yeah, so I'm gonna go this way. Yeah, and so you can go back and forth in any direction you want to fill in the space you want, and it doesn't really matter. I might even just end this one here. Come around, do this side. You can follow the grid or not follow grid, have it be very free form. Doesn't really matter. I'm definitely getting to the end of my thread, so. Okay, tack this down. This is very ish stitching for me. I'm not sure how I'm feeling about it, but I've used up my thread, and yeah, it's all good. I'm gonna leave it. Yay, I'm glad it's going fast for you too, Chevy. That's a good thing, right? Is that a good thing, or do we want to slow it down? I think it's bittersweet, because then when February's over, that means bingo is over. I didn't get under that one twice, but I'll just make another. Okay. So that is feather stitch and variations. Play around with colors if you'd like, you know, switch to totally different colors. You get to see Aubrey in March. That's awesome. Woohoo! Nice. That's great. I'm so happy for you two to get to hang out in March. That'll be fun. So, you know, play around with the colors, play around with the lengths of the different legs of the feathers. It is called a feather stitch, so you could see if you can. I didn't do it in a very typical way in terms of creating a feather, but if any of you want to experiment with it to create wings, if you have a larger space like this here, I know somebody had it in 3, or, you know, like here in the bellies of those two in 8 and 11. you know, maybe you can play around with the actual feather shape of filling back and forth within the feather, within the wing itself. So again, kind of like in here, where you can go back and forth and sort of fill in that space. I did it in this direction, so the V's are facing upwards like this, so that if you think about a feather and the way it's the feathers lay on top of each other, that V is sort of acting as the point of the feather, the ends of the feathers. So that's why I did it in this direction. But certainly feel free to experiment. No right or wrong. You do how you want to do. I give you maybe the artist perspective of it, of how it might look more like a feather, but you can do whatever you want to do. Okay? So thanks again for joining me today. I hope you guys have a great rest of the day. Hannah's going to be back tomorrow evening at 7:30. So yeah, have a great day, right? Bye everyone. Thanks for coming.